had Kamala Harris fuck. You know what? No, we can actually play that clip. You know, Kamala did the full one. I only have. Oh, I don't have the whole clip. I just have. That was pretty long, though. That was pretty good. Let me see. You want me to play?
And then the link, y'all, because literally you can see him in his MAGA gear, by the way. So he's definitely, yeah, we can't, there's no getting away with this one.
Was he a January 6th?
I don't think he was January 6th. He was doing his own shit.
All of the Republicans are going to say this is a false flag. He's just wearing this to get the right in trouble.
Right. He's in Antifa about this shirt.
Right. Like the little gymnastics the right will do to not to.
Do you care about Bob Dylan, Glennis?
Yeah, that most recent movie was so great. It's really worth seeing.
Nice.
Yeah.
What if you don't know?
I didn't know any of his music, but the movie was good.
Yeah, I knew some of his music. I guess
I feel like
that wasn't really my era, but yeah. More my
I feel like you have to know the music before you see that kind of movie. So I guess maybe not.
No, but it's just an interesting movie, even if you didn't know the music.
I guess.
This is Queen, though. You know that, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Or
This is not Bob.
But whoever the head actor was in Bohemian Rhapsody, I mean, he's a very strange looking person.
or whatever.
Yeah, he's a very strange looking person.
Yeah.
But he played Freddie pretty well.
Pretty good in that, though. Yeah.
Who's the guy from America's Got Talent that took over as a singer when on tour? People say
Adam Lambert.
Yeah, Adam Lambert. That's who it is.
Yeah.
He sounds great.
The gay guy?
Good compliment.
Yep. That's the one. And I heard it was because he was gay, and so was Freddie Mercury. That's how they could sing the same. Isn't that crazy, then?
Yeah, I know that.
You know, that the gays sing beautifully like angels.
That's why they got on them gay men choruses and whatnot, where they're flashing it up. Speaking of the gays men's chorus, Hope, where have you been tonight? I've been around. I've been doing stuff. Okay.
You're spreading it.
Oh, that's the Beach Boys. I've been around.
Penn Station for years.
I was just at Penn Station. They've been there for years. They have a lot of cop presence in Penn Station.
I'm not talking about
They just
cop.
live there.
No, they have a lot of different teams with the guns.
No, with the bulletproof vests, with the fucking rifles.
Yeah, but I'm talking about soldiers, like the military. Like, I don't know. To me, that matters.
Yeah, they have fatigues on.
No, yeah, they do have it. It's not to minimize that experience in Union Station. I'm just saying we've seen that a lot in Penn Station.
Alright, we can already play a clip, because y'all ain't talking about shit. Nope, not at all.
She's mean.
I can be.
That's all I keep telling you.
Originally now by former Vice President Kamala Harris. 107 days. That's a nearly day-by-day account of her run for president and the 2024 campaign. President Harris, thank you for joining us this morning. Great to be with you. And we're just gonna dive right into it because everyone seems to have their own theory. But why do you feel or believe that you lost the 2024 presidential election?
Well, I talk about a lot of the factors that I think contributed to the outcome, but the reason I wrote the book is it really was an unprecedented election. You think about it, a sitting vice president running for re-election, 3.5 months before the election decides not to run. The sitting vice president then takes up the mantle, running against a former president of the United States who had been running for 10 years with 107 days to go. It's unprecedented. It was the closest presidential election in the 21st century. And as history writes about that election, I felt very strongly that I wanted to make sure my voice was present in how that election is discussed and covered as part of American history, and I wanted to make sure my voice would be a part of that.
So do you believe 107 days was enough? Do you wish of course you wish you had more time, but do you think it was enough? And if not, do you think that any other Democrat could have pulled it off in 107 days?
It was not enough. I can't predict the outcome. We have lots of stars in our party. I'm sure that there are many people who would have done a great job. I can't predict what the outcome would have been.
Well, how did you? There were some Democrats that said that you don't take enough responsibility for the loss. How do you respond to that?
As I say many times in different ways in the book, the buck stopped with me, and I'm clear about that. And there were so many factors. One of the aspects of those 107 days is important to remember as we go forward is that we have an individual in the White House, President Trump, who in running for re-election made a lot of promises to the American people that he did not keep. I talk extensively about the fact he said that his main reason for running, and on day one, he was going to bring down prices. And I do believe a lot of people voted for him with that priority in mind. And look at where we are today. Inflation is up. The cost of food is up. Unemployment is up. He did not keep that promise to the American people. And we also need to remember those 107 days around some other stuff that he said. Mass deportations. That he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies, that he would silence critics. And he has done that consistently. Mass deportations, somebody told me recently a story about a fellow they were talking with who was a big supporter of President Trump when he was running. He's a Floridian, he's Cuban descent, and he shared the story of how his life partner, his wife, is now in deportation proceedings to be sent to Sudan. And when asked, what happened? Why did you have so much support from him? He said, well, I believe what he said, that he was going to only go after criminals. So part of the reason that I have written this book is for us to remember that there is somebody in the White House right now that made a whole lot of promises that were either about what would aggrandize and help him met out his vengeance, or about lies he told to the American people that he obviously never intended to keep.
And let's talk about somebody who was in the White House with you.
Yeah.
President Biden, I'm saying he believed that he insists that he would have won the race. So when you hear him say that, how does that make you feel?
I think that the reality of it is that for me, I'm not going to predict what didn't happen. The reality is, and listen, I talk about how difficult January 6th was for me of 2024, not to mention 2020,
Yeah.
when I fulfilled my constitutional duty and responsibility as Vice President of the United States and President of the United States Senate to stand there as the former Democratic nominee for president and certify the election. Because I believe very strongly that in spite of all the other nonsense that might be coming out of my former opponent, I was not about to degrade the role of Vice President of the United States on acknowledging a free and fair election and the peaceful transfer of power, which is part of the hallmark of who we have presented ourselves to be as the United States of America.
When you said in the book, that's the
Yo,
hardest
Rock,
thing
mulala.
you had to do.
Yo,
It's one of the
Rock.
hardest things I've ever had to do, Michael.
But there are so many people out there who felt that President Biden shouldn't have run for re-election. And you wrote in the book that it was, quote, Joe and Jill's decision, and other Democrats decided that Joe and Jill's decision. But do you regret not voicing your opinion in that moment?
Yes, and I actually have reflected on that, and I've written about that. I realize
If you did,
I don't know, but I can only take responsibility for myself. And on reflection, and I talk about it in the context of asking the question of myself: was that grace to not bring it up to him, or was it reckless? And on my part, I do reflect on that and feel that there was a recklessness about not raising it with him. I talk about what was going through my head, right? And what was going through my head to not bring it up was that it would come off as being very self-serving and therefore maybe lack the credibility that it deserved. But I do think about it. And I also say, though, and I speak extensively about this, my concern about him running for re-election was completely separate from my admiration and knowledge about his capacity to serve as President of the United States, which was consistent and never wavered.
As we sit here today, you think he would have been up for running the country for 4 more years?
Here's the distinction that I make. It's and having had the experience myself, it is one thing to have the capacity to govern. It is another thing to go through an election for President of the United States. So you are an athlete, and you may appreciate this kind of metaphor. Running for President of the United States is like being in a marathon at a sprinter's pace with people throwing tomatoes at you every step you take. It is not for the lighthearted. It takes an incredible amount of endurance and stamina. And can you imagine doing it while you are also carrying literally the weight of the world as being President of the United States? So the distinction I make is about capacity to be president and what that election would require in that campaign, especially running against Donald Trump.
And running against Trump, you had the big debate that we all watched. And you said leading up to that debate, you got a call the day of. And the call from President Biden left you angry and disappointed. What did he say to you?
So he called me, and again, listen, this book, I am being candid in this book about behind the scenes what happened, and in a way that I hope is helpful for people to understand what that all was. And part of that call that he made to me the afternoon before the debate was to wish me luck, but also to talk about something that was more in his interest than it was in mine, especially in the context of that time. But let me also say that a large part of why this book has been written and why I wrote it is I really want to remind the American people, and there are so many stories I tell about in those 107 days being with tens of thousands of people, Michael, people who seemingly have nothing in common, who had enthusiasm and optimism and hope about the future of our country. And I talk about it now and always. We're living in very dark times. These are troubling times. And I hope and I pray that when people read this book, they will remember the light that they had that cannot be diminished by the outcome of one election or the existence of one individual. That light exists in all of us. And we have to see it in each other and let that propel us through these dark days.
We see your passion for politics. We see your passion for the country. You ruled out that you run for governor of California.
That's correct.
Are you ruling out a run, or what would you? Are you ruling out a run for president in 2028?
I'm not focused on that right now. I'm really not. I'm really excited about my book tour. You know, I'm excited about being out and listening to folks. I think it's important to listen. Mm-hmm. You know, and elevate people's voices. You know, there's such when I'm out and about, I can't tell you the number of people that come up to me crying.
Well, do you think that writing this book could have burned some bridges, though, that could help you politically?
No, and that's not my intention, and I hope not. You know, if you're talking about the chatter about who I talk about, we have nothing but stars as far as I'm concerned in the party. And I talk glowingly about who they are and what they're contributing. And frankly, I think that part of the problem that we have right now in terms of the punditry is to suggest that we are waiting for a Messiah and the Savior and the saving message, instead of seeing that we actually have a lot of stars who are doing very good work, pushing back, but also talking about what we stand for. And I think it's time that we also recognize that is counterproductive to keep saying who is the one and set in front of us how rich we are in terms of talent. And let's support that.
All right, let's support that. We'll see if people will be supporting you if you announce you're going to run in 2028.
Oh my goodness, I just buy the book. Just buy the book.
Well, before President Kamala Harris, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And yes, go out and buy the book. It is a great read. 107 Days is available now.
It has been 3 weeks since Peer Gynt.
That was really good.
She definitely running.
It was okay.
She's not lying.
Give me some depth. Y'all saying
Who said that she's definitely running?
Yeah, she dodged that question like a.
She running the other direction, hopefully.
Nah, she gonna run again in 2028. I ain't got no doubt.
I hope she has better sense than that.
I don't want to see her dragged for this.
I don't want to see no woman running for president.
I don't understand that black woman, that drop in tone. I'm not focused on that. That girl is not thinking about that. She done with y'all. Y'all played in her face.
I agree.
Niggas be thinking they still have a shit. Oh, she not. She not fooling with y'all.
Well, I don't know if she's gonna win or not, but I think she definitely gonna put her hat in the race again.
I hope she does not.
I don't think so.
That's his opinion. It's okay.
She doesn't need.
Let him.
No, we not letting no more big
She's a
show.
great life back.
Her cherry was already popped.
Seriously,
Yeah, her cherry was
like,
not a virginity cherry. I'm saying that,
I got you.
you know, she already
Let me
was
say this.
there. She didn't win. She's like,
Let me say this because I definitely was one of the ones that was like, okay, you know, I don't think she should have wrote the book, but like I also said, I feel as though
don't
there's
make me
a lot.
read what you actually said today. You can read your message that you sent me.
it's a snitch.
I don't know what the fuck is going on with you tonight. But whatever it is, I need you to throw it in the trash.
It wasn't.
Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me. Go lay down. Go take a nap. So, like I said, you know, I was totally against her writing this book. But after listening to this message, because Mel sent it to me, and I sat and I listened, and I said, well, you know, I always felt as though there was more context than what was being disseminated, right, amongst the airways, because I always know people always going to take your information, they're going to take what you say, they're going to spend it how they want to spend it. And, you know, how she expressed herself today, I think some of the things that people have said in here today, you know, she wanted to tell her side of the story. And that's what she did. She told her side of the story. I still have my own personal opinions when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the Democratic Party and how it might impact moving forward. But again, she spoke with decency and definitely did not put him down in any kind of way. I think she spoke from a politically correct mindset. Thank you for allowing me to share.
First Lady, do you think that anything that she said, because you said, oh, now I've heard her side of the story, like there's like new information or like a revelation. Do you think that anything that she said was new or surprising?
No. It was just the way in how she answered the questions. So, for instance, you know, do you think that he should have ran again? You know, she said, listen, you know, it takes a lot to run. You know, it's one thing to already be the president and have that weight on your shoulders, but then to actually have to still be the president while everything is going crazy and haywire, and you're running against Donald Trump. On top of that, you know, being the president and running, you get tired. So, to me, that was her way of saying, like, she's tired
frustrated.
and old, but not saying he's tired and old, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
That's some revisionist essence. Come on. Like, do you remember how bad that first debate was? That dude was not even.
Oh yeah, well the debate, like it wasn't.
Routinely
The
had
debate
bad
is what
first
got him
debate.
out.
She was.
But what I will say
Whoa,
though,
was I not talking, man? What's going on?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't even get to a comma, let alone a period. My God.
Oh, I thought that was
Yeah.
a period.
It didn't sound like it, but
Well, I mean, okay. Maybe I took a half a breath or something, but like that was definitely not. Anyway, my point was that like we watched that debate with Joe Biden. That guy wasn't just a little bit off. Like that was a lot off. Like, and there's no way that just happened to be the one episode that he had during that time. Like, I mean, I don't know, man.
Wait,
I
can I
trouble
add to
hearing
that?
that at this point.
Can I add to that, Your Honor? I saw him immediately the day after the debate because he was speaking for the Gay Pride celebration with Elton John the next day in New York. And so I saw him feebly walking up to the stage, not having any real command. Like, he was fine, but he did not have like the gusto or the verve or anything like that to be able to campaign in the last stretch based on what I was seeing. And people were making up shit. I think it was Hunter Biden, like, yeah, he was on, Ambien or something. I'm like, dude, the debate was at night. Was he taking Ambien at 4 p.m.? Like, this is all fucking stupid. And the way they were trying to sugarcoat it, like, he just didn't look good. Like, we have to own it.
So I believe that there were some issues with the way that they represented it. But the reality and the truth is that the president went to the debate after some travel. And he is older. So how the travel affected him should have been in the calculus for how he did that. My issue with it is the way that the Democrats, the so-called Democrats, dragged him around it. And I believe, my belief is that was it. Once the Democrats started doing that, there was no Democrat that was going to win. None. Because it totally undermined the Democratic Party as a cohesive, as an anything. And so nobody could win. And Kamala, with all her issues notwithstanding, it didn't matter after that point. Because what should have happened is that the Democrats should have rallied and they should have made legitimate, not dismissed what was going on with him, but made legitimate excuses for what was going on with him. And not all that kind of bullshit. Because presidents routinely have bad first debates. They routinely, every sitting president who has run for re-election has had a bad first debate. So you contextualize it that way, and you tell the truth about his exhaustion. But I mean, it's like fucked up. But the Democrats are cannibals, and I will never forgive them for how they handled the Biden situation.
Okay, Dr. AJ. The people around him were lying to him. That's the thing. I actually think that Joe Biden cares about the country enough that if people were honest with him about how bad the polling was, I mean, in
I agree.
the Jake Tapper book, there's they recount, and I'm sure that this came directly from Pelosi because sometimes they're like, Pelosi thought, right? And so we know that Pelosi is the source. That she, that the dramatic scene of her going to him and saying, this is what the polling is saying. They're saying you have a 5% chance here and a 20% chance here. And it was all new to him. I think if he had really known before that fateful weekend in July that he would have dropped out of the race. But they were telling him that he could win, and he couldn't have.
Yeah, I believe you on that, Kimberly, and I have no argument with that because that's the way that you handle things. You handle them in private, behind closed doors, and you don't do things that humiliate a person. That's my only thing. I don't disagree with that. And I put a note in the chat should have gone to him, if you had gone to him at an earlier point and laid these things out, then a primary could have been had, or something could have been arranged at the convention. It could have been a little different, even if it was 30 days, 60 days before. So I don't disagree with you, Kimberly. I don't disagree.
I think that's where I am. I'm listening to her and I love her down, like Kamala Stan, and I'm just like, I'm not. I mean, yes, she should have a voice. Just it was her experience, write a book and all that. But I'm just really thinking about like winning and the harm things do, and like just jumping on board and getting, what did they say, getting on cold, which it seems the other side does much better. And I think that airing these things out publicly, while they may be true, like I just don't know if it's helpful right now. Like, can we just wait till we get some power back to start talking about our counterparts already?
I agree. Now, if she'd have continuously dragged Trump the way she did, because, bringing out the fact, and again, this is the reason why I thought this was a really good clip, because she's reminding the people that's not what you voted for, okay? And even today, as we sit here 9 months later, we have people shifting, saying, oh no, that's not what I voted for. And I'm like, you lie. That's not what you were saying during the campaign. That's not what you were saying. You were saying you want reprieve today, and you want everything to go back the way it was, and Trump is going to give you that. And this is what he promised you. So stop.
Yeah, we're also forgetting the run-up to that debate. So the conservatives all day, every day, were saying that this man is half dead. They called him Sleepy Joe. They said that he had some type of brain event. I'm not exactly sure. They highlighted every stumble. They used propaganda in terms of like pictures to make it look like he was this doddering old man who was sundowning. And during all time, surrogates and the Democrats were like, these are all lies. This is bull crap. He's going to eviscerate Trump, this, that, and the third. So when the shock of what happened at the debate happened, a lot of people were in terror, myself included. Now, I was going to vote blue no matter what. He could have been comatose. I was going to vote for him. But I legitimately thought he was having a stroke on national TV. I legitimately thought that there may be something to what the maggots are saying. So in my mind, if I, as I'm an anti-Republican and I will vote no matter what is on the blue ticket, are thinking that way, I don't see how many people who are on the fence, weren't going to vote, blah, 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 are going to be all that excited to get back on the trail. Now, I agree that you can recover from a bad debate. Like, I recall Obama's first debate was just not that great. But this is something entirely different, and it was a lead up to something. And so you have people believing that President Kankles is a bit of masculine virility, and this is what is being put up against him. And so in principle, I do believe that Biden's advisors should have nipped his thoughts of presidency in the bud from the get-go. But, hindsight is 2020. It's 2020. I think Biden was a tremendous president, but I also believe that he is a peacetime president. He has no fight. He didn't have what it took to stab the enemy in the political jugular. And that's a fact, and that's what needed to happen. I'm done.
I agree.
Biden, he went back on his promise because he had promised that he only intended to be a one-term president, and that he saw himself as a transitional figure. And that was the whole justification for even choosing Kamala Harris as the running mate, right? This idea of this new, more diverse generation of leadership. So he went back on that promise, but also if it had been sincere from the beginning, I think that they would have had, well, he said this, you're talking to me about how do y'all know this, but he had said he was going to be a transitional figure when he was running when he was doing the primary in 2019, because initially it didn't look like he was doing that well in the primary, and that was kind of his sales pitch. But the way that Kamala Harris was kind of sidelined as a VP, or not really brought in as much as she should have, if indeed he was planning to transition it all along.
I want to say one thing just about Biden.
Yes.
And I said this on the app at the time. I saw him speak in April of that year, and I went in there expecting to see the man who showed up on the debate stage, and he actually was good. He was good, actually good. And so when that debate happened, I actually thought he was going to kick Trump's ass. I really did, because I saw him. He moved around like an old man. He had that kind of stiff lumbar kind of thing going on. But other than that, he was interacting with the crowd. He was effective. He was playful. He was actually pretty good. I was impressed. So I do think that there's some ability for other people to have had that kind of experience in terms of the people who saw him infrequently. And I do think that there's some people who earnestly felt kind of seems like he's okay, little, stumbly as an old man, but outside of that, okay. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
When she said in the GMA interview, and she said in a number of her interviews, that emphasizing there's a lot of stars in the Democratic Party. There's a lot of stars. Do y'all agree with that? Do you feel that way?
Say it again. What was the question?
Yep.
I mean, she said a number of times there's a lot of stars in the Democratic Party. So I'm just wondering how I feel about it.
I believe it, and I'm going to say it regardless.
Oh, sorry. I thought there was another, that was a colon.
Period.
Period.
There's good people, there's stars, but she's not dumb. She knew what the real question was, right? Do we have that person? And I like her answer about we shouldn't be looking for that person, because we shouldn't be a cult. The other side is a cult, and they need that leader. We have a lot of leaders. They just aren't this super figurehead that we have to follow. And you'll also see they're doing it with Charlie Kirk, and they just need to be following somebody, a person, a figure. We don't really do that. But it was a good way to avoid answering the questions. The real answer to the question is no. We do not have a Trump. We do not have a Charlie Kirk. We don't have any.
I mean, Democrats do that. What's going on? We just didn't have.
Catch up. The Republicans, they don't care.
What if
You ask them, do we have stars? They will drag the bottom, their grandmother's cedar chest for the carcass, beat her chest, and say that person is great. What's going on?
That's a
This
fact.
is the problem.
Somebody from the outside.
That's why I said what I
I'm not talking at all. I guess my mic is broke. You're looking for perfection, and this is how losses are gained. What's going on? It doesn't matter if the person's perfect. You put them in the race and you push them. You push them, whatever it is. You get them to jump over the huddle, whatever. You support your person. This integrity and this morality and we're the
red
But
flag.
some of the voters chose Trump. The establishment people, the RNC people, they did not want him. The Fox News people, they did not want him. They tried to freeze him out. The Trump movement was, unfortunately, like a real quote-unquote populist push. And so if we're gonna have somebody, our Trump, we have to have somebody who can do that, who can galvanize, who can draw people in, who has the charisma and the media savvy. I'm not sure if we're seeing that. I don't know. I'm like John off.
Really, don't you think we can get somebody who can do that for 10% of the people, and those 10% of the people can rally enough to convince the other people to come along and join? I mean, it's not like Donald Trump has overwhelming support. He just has his little niche population.
But he has
and
rabid.
he's
Oh, I'm sorry.
managed to outnoise the other people. I don't think you have to have that many people. We or you, whoever is supporting the person, that team just has to be loud.
But he has rabid support, you know?
Yeah, blind supporters.
He has a
That's
cult
the
of
thing.
personality.
Yeah, and the Democrats are incapable of that because they gonna find
Which is a good thing, though.
they gonna find the pill at the back of the sweater.
Y'all, wait, 2008 is not that long ago. Barack Obama had rabid support. 60,000, yes, 60,000, 70,000.
Kimberly.
Well, by the time, yes, that's okay. You know what? You're right.
He had to work for it.
Yeah, but Trump
And
didn't
his
have it.
supporters did that work and got the other people
You're right.
on board. Come on.
Right, and
Yeah, but Trump didn't have that support in the beginning either.
That's my point.
he turned his support into a cult, though. Like, he doesn't have support.
Fucking cares. I don't care if they join the cult. I want my grandmama, both my grandparents are dead, but I want my niece's grandparents to have their Medicare. Like, I don't care if the people join the cult. I don't have to join the cult. I want Medicare. I want these young children who are disabled and who have intellectual disabilities to have the support that they need in the schools. That's what I want. I want these women that are out here trying to raise their families. They're decent, hardworking women. I want them to have support. I want them to know that if I only make $250 this month, a check for $350 is in the mail, and I can feed my kids, I can pay my bills, and I can clothe them. That's what I want. I give fuck less.
I'm not
if
saying.
they create a cult.
I'm not
I
saying
want to be in it. I
I'm
want
not
to be
saying.
in the cult.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, to try to find somebody like Trump, you're not about to find that on the Democratic side. You just need to find a good.
We don't need it, we don't want it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. Like, we don't need that.
But in terms of, not in terms of being similar to
Wait,
Trump.
why don't we need it or want it? I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Kimberly. That's what I'm stuck on. That's what I'm
But we need just enough. I'm saying I don't need the mirror image of him on the Democratic side.
Yeah.
That's what,
But I think in terms of
I want the enthusiasm, and I want some even blind loyalty. I don't mind that, but I don't want all the bad stuff that comes.
I don't want the blind loyalty either, because, like, we got to be able to actually have politicians that are able to admit to wrong, and we need them to be held accountable, like, you know, to their voters. Trump is not that. Like, to go completely in the opposite direction isn't a better thing either.
I don't want my politicians.
See, that's that Democrat priority.
Yeah, I hear it.
See,
I say, I don't.
That's not purity.
I don't.
I'm not asking for.
morality and virtue.
I'm not asking for a perfect
Break
candidate.
the law.
But you're asking for morality and virtue.
No, I'm not. I just
That's
asked for.
virtuous, though.
I just asked him to not be a cult leader.
I'm okay with the cult. I'm gonna be honest with you.
That's what I was saying earlier. We need that.
I feel like in terms of the groundswell of support and the genuine enthusiasm and the fervor, I honestly think that that's what Bernie Sanders voters had in 2016. And I think that it was a really big mistake on the part of the DNC to, like, there's been so much reporting about the DNC bias toward Hillary Clinton, and there was the, leaked
Because he
email.
wasn't in the party.
But Bernie's not a Democrat. What's going on?
Well, he was running in the Democratic primary, and he had a lot of fucking support.
When I skate, I wear my Russian t-shirt. They not gonna put me on the Olympic team.
Point Malak is making is that when we're talking about a cult leader, when we're talking about a cult leader, Bernie Bros were that. I would say that definitely.
They were.
And further, Bernie Bros, when their man got silenced by the DNC,
They voted for
they
Trump.
went for Trump.
Because they were Trumpers all along.
They want a white man to follow. Yeah, just did it. But you know what I mean. They just want somebody to follow.
I didn't
Bernie had that same kind of energy of like, the system is fucking you and the system needs to change it. Like, whatever that thing is.
That's called populism.
Exactly. That gets people riled up, that they can believe in, that they feel like they want to go out and vote, and they had that. And then they did so many things, the DNC, to their way to push Hillary Clinton instead of going with the people. And I think that was a big mistake.
Well, I don't know. Okay, wait a second. Okay, so Bernie has a rabid support for sure. I'm getting caught up when you say instead of going with the people. I believe that Democrats want to vote for Democrats. I understand that Democratic Party ID has waned significantly, like dropped significantly since 2016.
Yeah.
But when I think about Democrats, like people, like honestly, I'm talking about negresses, okay? There is a hump. They would have voted for Bernie for sure, but I do think that it would have been tough to sell to those people that we're gonna go with this person who don't really even care about the party like that.
I hear you, but I think
Say it all like
for me, let me just say this.
What the fuck is going on?
For me, from what I see, the way that Democrats win is on turnout. If they can get the voter turnout that they need, they win. If they don't get the voter turnout that they need and people stay home or whatever, they lose. So if you're thinking about who is going to be able to get the most people out to vote, in the context of 2016, I think that was Bernie.
Bernie wasn't gonna get black women out.
No, he was not gonna get black women out there. That's
Please,
crazy.
no black women was rallying for Bernie.
He
like
did
that.
not
I'm
lose
sorry.
black women. And
I'm
he ain't
sorry.
care about black women.
And
Let's
if
be
he
honest.
didn't get black women, he wasn't gonna win. So I don't know what this preoccupation. I don't know what this.
Just because he had a black woman, just because he had a black woman on his team does not mean he was gonna get the black votes.
Yeah, the black
Like, remember when Simone Sanders was Simone Sanders? I remember getting emails from Simone Sanders because she was his press secretary. Crazy times.
And I didn't really buy into that because Simone gonna go win her bag.
Oh no, she's just ambitious. Yeah.
Yeah. She gonna go win her bag at. So that wasn't an endorsement for me.
But yeah, Bernie repelled black people when he didn't have to.
Exactly.
I have no idea, like, why. And you know what I began to believe, and I could be wrong, but I began to believe that he is playing into racism as a strategy. And so I understand that he has a rabid base, but that rabid base cannot elect Bernie Sanders on their own. And the very fact that a sizable number of them would defect to Donald Trump tells me that really that's not our candidate. It's not.
Y'all watching the chat.
Who the hell
Yeah, I
is
see that.
CNBC?
Yeah.
What's going on in the chat? Let me see. What's happening?
Them Bernie Bros pages were held back in it.
They want attention and about to give it to them.
stay focused.
Well, what I just asked is a security issue.
That whole thing, like all the Bernie Bros.
Oh, so I'm not security, great.
Security.
Let me just say this. I didn't like Bernie or Hillary at the time, so I've been
Miss
going
Lady, I don't want you at the door. I'm gonna sit down.
So let me just say this. I wasn't for Bernie or Hillary. I was extremely disappointed in that election cycle. But the claim that there was like a ton of Bernie Bros switched over to Trump just isn't borne out by the facts. You can look this up. It's been debunked a lot of times. It's not like substantially more than like other switches that happen between other candidates, like the Hillary voters not voting for Obama, for example. But you can look that up. I do think that there is a lot to be said for candidates who really have like the courage of their convictions generally performing better. There was a study that was done recently. I'd have to look it up, but I'm outside right now. But basically, it showed that there's like a 1.2%, if I remember right, bump for being more centrist, but there's actually a larger bump for being like more of a charismatic candidate. Like, admittedly, this is perfectly scientific. Like, how do you measure charisma? Is a question that I had when I was reading this. But having the courage of your convictions is attractive. And Democrats have run a lot of people who did not do a good job of showing that they had the courage of their convictions far too often in my lifetime. Now they had people like that, and it just doesn't work. Especially now, when there's the opportunity to go so much deeper and people expect you to do like a long form interview and this kind of stuff. You can't just say the same thing over and over and over again and win. They need to learn that lesson. I think a lot of the Democrats have some of the more impressive ones, and I think that you can have either like a more progressive take on something, like say Mike Levin, who won in Orange County, even though he's like very green. You can win in a place like Orange County as long as you still have the courage of your convictions more broadly. And so I just like we need people with more charisma in that regard. It will work, even if they're like maybe to my right. That's okay, but at least believe what you believe.
How do you feel about Zohan over in New York?
He's a good example of someone who has the courage of their convictions, and it's sexy. So he's probably gonna win because of it.
No,
I think it would
is
take
gonna
me
win. This isn't.
So wait a minute, hold up. So let me ask y'all. So do y'all think that Bernie would have won with the Trump election over Hillary?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Can I tell you why? Because nobody's gonna say it, but I can say it. Apart from the fact that he is a self-described Democrat socialist, which he didn't have the chance to get beat up in the general election because of that, because people don't understand what that actually is, which is not that scary, by the way, which is what New Yorkers are figuring out with Zoran. But number two, because nobody wants to say it, he's a Jew.
Right. I need
And
to say
America's not gonna, yeah, exactly. And I'm sorry,
And
it's
number
just
three.
America's not doing that.
Number 3, he anti-black. Number 3.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, that's fine. That's legit.
I didn't know that.
I'm just saying, well, I'm just saying, she makes a fair point. I just think the Jewish things have not started. That's why I don't like even the talk of like, oh, Josh Shapiro should run. It's a non-starter for people. I don't think people understand how much of a non-starter it is.
I don't know, I like John Ossoff a lot.
Maybe I'll sneak by because he's from Georgia.
Yeah, I was gonna say he might get a hall pass because he's a Southern Jew. Yeah, he might get a hall pass.
Not a son. Oh.
Yeah, he's Southern. He's from the South.
But that makes a difference because you're
Oh,
from
yeah, I think so. In national politics, I would think.
But are we still on that to the point where, as in, given the current climate, people would still be like against voting for a Jewish man?
Now more than ever, I'd say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm talking about
Purse.
Well, so many people talked about the fact that Kamala Harris was even married to a Jewish man, so.
I mean, she mentions it in the book, right? Like, that was a big thing. It was was a recurring theme. People brought
For people on the far right and the far left to rally around, I guarantee you.
But that's the thing though, like I understand the conversation and I'm hearing what you guys are saying, but we also need to make sure that we understand the party to the right likes to just throw enough mud to just dirty. Trump didn't win because of outstanding numbers. He won because people didn't want to vote. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the other part is, and to Kamala Harris in her interview last night, that was one of the things that she brought up. Like, is she going to have to go on stage and show people her vagina because they're like literally going to say she's not a guy? I mean, I've seen everybody in this room, pretty much everybody in this room we've debated. How many times do we have to have a stupid debate about how Kamala Harris is actually black? You know, and I think that's the real kind of thing that the next election is going to have to come down to is how do you handle all the mudslinging? How do you handle that the other party can just, I mean, Trump, like, what was Trump's platform? He came on stage, he said he had concepts of thoughts and fucking an idea of a plan.
End all the wars on day one.
And it's so crazy because.
So my answer to that, Thomas, is you don't have a debate about that. That's stupid. And you don't allow people to engage you in that. And you call it out every time. What does that have to do with what is at stake? Right? But there's some kind of investment that people have in securing blackness for certain people. And I think that's more of the problem, right? But I can say I've never had that debate. Never. I didn't engage.
Can I add that?
And I'm very politically active, just for the record.
But that was never, being black was never a requirement for any of the previous people running for president. It just became this strong requirement for her for some reason. She only black.
For Obama too. Don't forget.
No, I don't know.
Black enough.
Remember when they tried to declassify Hawaii as a state?
Well, they were saying he wasn't American and stuff like that,
No,
but they did not say.
They had the black thing to go back to
So if you recall, right, you may not, but like I remember when like Obama was actually suffering pretty significantly against Hillary Clinton. And like his black card was kind of
the black vote.
Right, exactly. The black vote specifically, thank you, Dr. AG. And his black card was kind of being measured against Hillary Clinton's to a certain degree.
Looks like he was married to the who played the saxophone.
No, because of Hillary Clinton's own record.
Record, exactly.
Her own record.
And it was actually Bill Clinton who kind of got her in trouble.
So what we're saying is anybody with dark skin who runs, regardless of all the white presidents we've had, anybody with darker skin, we're gonna say how dark are you before we can vote for you.
Are you listening?
No, I am. But
The race thing.
Okay. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Okay, so the race thing I think has two things in there. One is, are you a liar, right? I think a lot of it was people being like, can we trust this person? You know, the lying Democrat, she's just a lying, conniving, whatever. There's that. And of course, that's tied to misogyny.
Because Trump is trustworthy.
Right. That's the thing, right? But there's already this thing about the Democrats. The Democrats, all they do is lie. And then there's women lie and they manipulate. Okay. But then the other thing is, there is this racial identity post first black president, I think takes on a new meaning. And we get this ADOS thing. We get this FBA thing where people are much more, I always use the word provincial, right? They are much more like, this is mine. Don't try to, you can't take this from me. You're trying to steal my identity from me. And I think a part of that is social media and the internet. And so Kamala is like in the center of this swirl of cultural shit. And there's so many things in that tornado. It was going to be so hard for her to get out of it. You know, people already were like, we had a black president and he didn't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have misogyny, then we have FBA. It was too much.
Yeah, I get that.
And Kimberly, my thing was when I said to Ron, are you listening? My initial point was you don't engage at that level, right? You don't debate another person's blackness. Like, what is going on? What's happening? What's the investment in doing that? That was my question. And of course, I understand what the investment is, but the question remains.
Doctor, but okay, so I'm pretty masterful when it comes to avoiding certain things, right? But when you have like what she had to go through and what she experienced when it came down to, because even Trump said it on stage, I think during the debate, she's not even black. He said it at that convention. What was it? The journalist convention, the black journalist. Yeah, exactly. Is she black? Is she really black? Like, how do you combat something like that?
Why?
Why you just ignore it?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. I'm saying, do you just ignore it?
So my thing is, he said it. Why is it not about him saying it rather than you proving that it's not true?
Because it was eating into the base of support that you needed to win the election.
So the people are like, maybe
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was a male voice.
If I can jump in.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
if I can just jump in.
So, do you see what I'm saying, First Lady? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, go ahead, because you can't contain it.
It's like, no, it's just the fact that on
No,
Clubhouse.
we don't do that, Thomas. We gotta let people let her finish. You go ahead, take it. You want a beating? You want a cantata? What is it called? A chocolata?
Chocolata. So do you see what I'm saying? Because once you allow that argument to be your focal point, you're already off game. You're already behind, right? But what you do is you flip it. Why is he saying that? What does it say about him that that's a point he wants to make? And you let that be your argument. That's all.
I think if she had had more time, there would have been opportunity to flip it and take hold of it. I think that Trump exploited this FBA 80 stuff, and they recognized that FBA 80's "Are You Really Black" discourse was eating into the base of support that she needed to win the election.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then they amplified it by agreeing to it and participating in it and being convinced by it.
Thomas, one mic on you, sir.
I mean, I hear what you're saying and I understand. The only problem is that on Clubhouse, it's easy to just, disregard it. But when you have someone of that stature who's deeply flawed and lying, right? I mean, you can't, there's no getting around it. I mean, we tried when they go low, we go high, and yes, we can take the moral high ground, but that shit don't work. It just doesn't work.
When they were obsessed with Obama's where he was born and whether he was a citizen or not, Obama's team, they flipped it. They were like, why is he so obsessed with my nationality and where I was born?
Right, and the man that started that is now president of the United States. It doesn't work.
But Thomas, this is the thing though. First of all, I don't debate on Clubhouse, right? I have conversations on Clubhouse. So my comment comes from what I do outside. That's why I preface it by saying that I am very politically active, right? So I get it, but the impulse to highlight the other person's flaws, the impulse to be better, that's the thing you have to overcome. here arguing who's the blackest, black, all black, everything, you're not amplifying this other thing.
I clearly understand that. Like, I really do. The only problem is there has to be, you can't ignore it. At no point, unfortunately, and I hate to say this, there's no ignoring it. There's no,
You
can't
have
just
to ignore it, though.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what we're saying.
No, I never
Right?
said you ignore it.
We're saying that we need to flip it, right?
Yeah, that's not ignoring it.
That's a strategy.
It is a strategy, but it's a strategy that doesn't work. That's what I'm saying.
It doesn't work. Just because.
One at a time. Let him finish. Wait a minute. Let him finish, because we go ahead. Get it out. Get what you're saying out.
No,
I'm
because
trying to understand.
Yeah, because the only thing I'm trying to say is, I understand. Okay, cool. We have to flip it. We have to find a way to change the narrative of why this white man is trying to point out this woman's blackness, or any candidate's nationality, race, creed, or whatever they're trying to support. The problem is that the candidate is a liar. And I was said last night with Kamala Harris, I'm going to lower the bills, but by the way, Kamala Harris isn't black. And it's going to be, and I think the next candidate that's going to come after Trump is just going to be 20 times worse. And that's the problem. Okay.
Thomas, what you're stuck on is, I'm sorry, I thought you.
No, yeah, he's done. What you're stuck on is
proving the other person bad, or thinking about how bad they are.
No, I'm not. I'm really not. No, I'm not. Stop, please, putting words in my mouth.
You just said that, though.
I know. I'm trying to say there needs to be another strategy besides trying to take the high road. I'm sorry.
Nobody said that's taking the high road.
Okay. All right. Communication.
Nobody said the high road. You're misinterpreting what I'm saying for the very reason that I'm saying it. Because the idea that you would not combat this thing head on is seen as either ignoring it or on the high road. And I'm saying that there are different ways to combat it without getting dragged down into an argument that you cannot win. You can't win the argument on, is this person black? You can't win that. There's no winning. So what you do is you leverage the question. What does the questioner, what is their investment in that? And how does that serve the country, right? So nobody's saying you ignore. Nobody's saying take the high road, right? It's just a different strategy for engaging around the larger issue that the question itself represents. Because you can't win. You're just going back and forth forever. That's all.
Yeah, Thomas, you said that he's a liar. So it's a waste of resources to try to combat directly what he's saying if we're starting from the framework that he's a liar. It's futile. So you have to come up with a different strategy.
All right, Malak wants to speak. But let me ask y'all this real quick. So are you saying, really what I like is examples, because maybe for, Thomas, I see Brooklyn saying, she definitely sees why Thomas is frustrated. Maybe because the way Dr. A.G. and Johnny's are structuring it, it's hard to get an idea of what that example could be. So if you ladies could give us like an example, okay, that was said. Now, what do? You're saying to do what? Like, give me an example. Is there an example that you can give?
Well, I named what Obama did as an example, but Thomas jumped to
right. We got
Trump. Let's deal with the Trump first. It's always a two-prong approach. Just like earlier in the conversation, we were talking about how Kamala needed to respond, and I said you do a two-prong approach. She doesn't have to be the one that does the clapback. Okay. You designate, you delegate. You have surrogates that do that. The principal doesn't have to be the one that matches the same energy. She just has to focus on what her strategy is. You have other people that do that. It's all, you don't have just one course of action, and your course of action doesn't have to be a reaction. I think that's where we get into problems when we're trying to triage everything.
And it's simple, right? He's over here trying to get y'all to figure out if I'm black. I'm over here trying to keep your companies in the black. What are you running? That's what I'm talking about.
No, that is bars.
Just move it, but pivot. You use that.
That's good. That's good. I like that.
But this
You
is
have to be strategically
higher.
savvy.
Yeah, I agree.
for sure. I'm sorry. I am just so excited. The difficulty is that she inherited these campaign people. And these campaign people, who are also on my ship, they were prepared to construct a campaign for an 80-something-year-old white man from Delaware. They weren't prepared to construct a campaign, meaning messaging, counter-messaging, op-ed researcher for a Jamaican and Indian woman from California. And so if there were competent strategists, media messengers, then that probably could have happened. It's not happening with Jen O'Malley Dillon as the campaign manager. Like, they just didn't know what to do with her.
Yeah,
I just wanted to say the other thing about it was, like, and it was genius when Trump did it with the, you're not even really black, was that was a criticism coming from technically Kamala's side with the ADOS and the FBA people. So, like, it's kind of hard to defend because now you're catching it from one side, but it's honestly a criticism that he just co-opted from your own people. Like, that makes it difficult to combat.
Well, they could have easily anticipated it. I'm sorry. Like, the issue is that anybody who is even vaguely familiar with the internet or these conversations could have seen that coming from a mile away. You don't see it coming from a mile away. I already said why you wouldn't see it. But yes, they just weren't prepared with adequate messaging. And she's a woman, right? Like, I'm sorry, my last thing is, it's difficult to compare Harris to Obama because men can do things that women can't do. Like, I came away from this book liking Harris a lot more with the better understanding of all of the landmines that she was trying to navigate. You want to be strong, but women succeed on the national stage when they are seen as a connector. What was the word? There's like a word for it. You have to be a unifier. You can't be on the attack. You have to be conciliatory, right? Bringing people together. So when you're getting all of these nasty attacks and you don't have infrastructure to counter message effectively, you're just out there. She's just out there, just getting pummeled. Okay.
I was gonna say Mike Donaldson deserves to be on your list of
Your Honor, Mike Donaldson, Anita Dunn, all of those people. I'm not gonna cuss them, but yeah, they've been on my shit list for a long time.
Yeah.
Ron Klain, shit list.
and two, absolutely.
I will say, though, I do agree about, like, the people around her because I don't think it's something she should have responded to directly. Like, every black person in the Democratic Party should have been up in arms, straight up.
But that's the thing, we can't never get on code for nothing. Like, we can't stick together. Hello? We got people over here, co-signing what Trump is saying, actually giving him pointers to actually go back and attack her. It's like, come on. Oh my God. So, every time I just think about that whole campaign trail, those 107 days,
So we don't even have to get on the campaign. We can even watch now, right?
Yeah.
This is the thing now. You have all these so-called Democrats running around here saying, the Democrats aren't doing anything. When are they going to stand up? When are they going to fight back? Oh my God, look at him. He's doing this. I can't learn it. They are their own worst enemy. They give their enemy all the ammunition they need to take them down. And until they figure that part out, it's always going to be this back and forth. It's always going to be that
So,
way.
doctor, did it ever go in?
So normal. My bad.
Oh, Brian wants to speak. Malak never got a chance to get the mic back either. But doctor, quick question. Is there ever a time where the Democrats, you saw how like Mike Johnson and them, he couldn't get his base together, and the Republicans when it came down to voting and stuff like that, but they kept on meeting, they kept on talking, they kept on communicating, and they left the Democrats out so that they could hash it out because they weren't all on the same board. Do the Democrats have that like kind of powwow kind of thing?
See, I will leave a more probably objective response to someone who identifies as a Democrat. As somebody who does not identify as a Democrat, I would say no, the Democrats aren't really capable of doing that kind of thing because their principle is the principle. And they organize around the righteousness of the principle. So they don't want to be seen as the people who are violating. They don't want to be seen as the people who are not doing the virtuous or the moral or the right thing. And I think that, I'm sorry, I think for the past 15 to 20 years, that has been a handicap for the Democrats. But I'm biased, so somebody else may be able to give a more objective answer.
Electorally? Or, I should not say electorally, that didn't make sense. Do we mean in Congress or out in the world?
In Congress.
Oh.
In Congress.
Because, I did read Nancy Pelosi's, okay, it's been a long year. And Nancy Pelosi
I like
wasn't
her
really,
book, by the way.
yes, and especially I wasn't expecting to even care about, she spent a lot of time on some of that legislation stuff, okay? Right, but she got it passed. She got the votes. She kept her caucus together, and she talked about how good Harry Reid was at keeping the caucus together, getting people in line. And now that Pelosi, I don't know. We're never gonna get another Nancy Pelosi.
The other thing is, though, you gotta think, once Obama became president, the way the politics work changed. There used to be, different factions within both parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. And the Republicans, when he became president, they just locked in, no matter what, anti-Obama, we don't care. And it continued with Trump, and it's even worse, because like I said, cult of personality. The Democrats still work in that old normal way of politics. So there's going to be disagreements there. They may have legitimate concerns where they're not going to agree with another Democrat, and that's not wrong. That's the way it's supposed to be. However, the way our country is fucked up, so it makes it ineffective.
Brian, Young, and Malak, y'all still haven't had a chance to get in there. Brian, Malak, Brian.
I was just gonna say to what Dr. A.G. was hitting upon. It's that adage, I'll say I've heard it for decades, that, Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. I've read a lot of Bob Woodward's books, over the Orange one's first, time in office, and I continue to plug his audio book, The Trump Tapes, and it's his interviews with him throughout his first administration, and how it's not just him, but some of the people around him, and he after the grab him by the pee video came out, how the Republicans facing a camera were all in line, but behind closed doors they was like a hair that close to trying to get him off the ticket. And it just reminds me of, speaking from my experience in my family, I assume many of us this where, like, look, if you don't argue in the streets, let's keep that in house. You know, look, they are consistent with a united front, even though they don't like the people that are in their team, but they continue to have a united front. But behind closed doors, they panicking. They trying to do what they can to get the ones that they know are damaging to them out of the way, off the ticket, out of the party. But then, and I don't like using either absolutes or generalizing all of us. But I will say I would assume many of us, when we look at Mike Johnson, hell, I call him Bitch McConnell, but that's just my personal grievance. But these cats in front of the camera are all, yeah, everything's great. Hey, tell us about the Republican from Ohio who is, I'm drawing a blank on him, but the one who has some alleged history of turning a blind eye to what the wrestlers at a college.
Jordan.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't remember. One would think I'm in Ohio right now. But anyway, in front of the camera, they're like, everything's great. And that's one of my criticisms and just grinds my gears with the Democratic leadership or party. This is the references to times past. I take that with a grain of salt. This is uncharted territory, and trying to play fair, trying to play by the rules. When the other side doesn't acknowledge there are rules, in my opinion, I'm not going to say it's a loss, but it definitely makes it harder to win.
But respectfully, Brian, it's not true that there were Republicans who came out and to resign. The current Senate Majority Leader was one of the people who said after the grab him by the pee thing came out that Trump should step aside and let Pence take the top. But there were other, I wish I could remember other names, but there were other senators. I think that both sides do the thing where we pretend like the other side is so together. No, there's a lot of discord on both sides. Trump basically has bullied like 10 people out of not running for re-election at this point. I think that Trump has a thing where he just will keep plowing ahead no matter what. It's the shamelessness of Trump. It is the I'm a buck, like, yeah, I did say that, but I'm not dropping out. So, it's almost his, actually, I was going to say it was almost his willingness to, bring the party down, but actually I'm critiquing Biden for that. But, and Trump could pull it off, though. He knew he had the support. Oh, that's the big difference between Trump and Biden. Trump had the people. Biden knew by the summer of 2024, or the Biden people knew, I don't know if Biden knew, that they did not have the people. They did not have the average Democratic Party voter anymore.
And I acknowledge, forgive me if I didn't speak on that more vocally. I acknowledge during his first term, the orange one, there were Republicans who were like, but I think you said it better. He's a bully, and it's like he doesn't take no for an answer, which is obvious by how many sexual assault convictions against him. But I acknowledge that. I'm just saying, simply put it, historically it seems consistent that Democrats fall in love and Republicans fall in line, no matter what.
We just need somebody that we would lay down in traffic for.
Because you got to remember, with the first time Trump ran, he said all that crazy stuff about Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz said, I'm not going to endorse Trump. He went up right before the national convention and said, vote what your heart believe, all this stuff. And then, shortly before the election, he goes and he's like, you know what? Trump had a good list of candidates for, the Supreme Court, and he fell in line. A lot of them, paid that lip service all the way up until, the actual against the road, and then they'll back down with them.
That's a fact.
Well, the thing is that why are we acting like it's a magical thing here? The problem is that when you have propaganda supporting or saying all the nonsensical shit that you're saying and spewing, you know, there's some point where the fact is the power is the people, right? Because those same senators that you were talking about, Kimberly, that didn't want to vote for Jim Jeffers to be Speaker of the House, those same senators got all death threats. And also they wanted to stand locked behind Trump. You know, and I think that's the real essence here, is because of the fact that you have someone that spews this nonsensical crap, and then suddenly all these people want to talk lockstep. It's the weirdest thing. When you talk to like a lot of Democrats, we have a lot of different ideas about what we should do. When you talk to a Trumpian, their all ideas are exactly the same, which means that they only get it from one damn source, which is Trump. You know, it's not magical. It's just that's the reason that Russia put in what. I think the DOJ exposed that Russia was paying influencers $100,000 for spreading all the nonsensical BS.
Yeah, Ben Johnson and Tim Pool.
But the ability to do that is magic, though. Like, I mean, we have to, okay, look, I hate Donald Trump. I hate Donald, I know the FBI is listening. I hate Donald Trump. But there is something remarkable about his ability to bring all of these factions together, his ability to, on day one, be like, oh, we're gonna invest in the American worker, and then he goes and says, oh no, corporate tax cut, and then next, labor rights, and then next, we're cutting the NLRB, and then everybody believes the shit. Because, like, he just has the ability to, like, go from place to place and say whatever people want to hear, and then they believe it. But that's a magic skill. We need a magician.
We don't need a liar in the office, but hold on, because here's the thing. His ability to lie is what we want to call a magic skill, but the truth of the matter of fact is, a lot of it has just been bullshit talking points because he can point to a common enemy. It worked for Adolf Hitler, it worked for every other third party, every third dictator, and it's working for him now. Oh, I'm sorry, why? It's because of all these illegal immigrants coming across the border. I'm sorry that your gas is expensive. It's because of all these illegal immigrants. Whatever your problem is, insert X. Right. And it's like, and it's one of those experts, whatever your problem is, insert X, and then all of a sudden, here, I'm going to be your, what did he say? I'm going to be your refuge. Whatever crap he pulled out. And the truth of the matter of fact, there's nothing magical about hate. This is hate. This country is built off of hate. It was built off the backs of our forefathers. It was built off the backs of our relatives. That's why they want to erase our fucking history and tell us slavery happened 8,000 years ago. Even though I have pictures of my grandfather in bondage. It disgusts me every time. But there's nothing magical about hate. It's just fucking hate. Call it for what it is. We don't need another liar to represent the Democratic Party to tell us that, hey, you know what, we're going to make all your bills magically go away. But there's something that we have to do to combat it. And I'm sorry to have to
finesser? What if we say not a liar per se, but a finesser?
Finesser is just a nicer way of saying no liar.
You guys, I just think.
Can I offer something?
Okay.
Let me offer something. The reason why Zoran will win, and the reason why he won the Democratic primary in New York pretty handily, even though he was not 1, 2, 3, or 4 on my list, is because he had a very simple message. Apart from all the other buzz around him, you know, that he marched with the, you know, pro-Palestinian movement, between all the other stuff, all of his promises, free buses, grocery store, people don't actually give a shit about the grocery store thing, you know, the city-owned grocery store. They don't really, like, having a fast, free bus was not on the top tier of the list for New Yorkers. His overall finessed message was affordability. And that rings for pretty much everybody, unless you're a fucking Upper East Sider. Like, that resonates. We need somebody who can do that message for America, where it can be, you know, a generic overall message and not even get into, like, crazy specifics or whatever, because that's exactly what Trump done.
I'm gonna make your life better. I'm gonna, lower shit. I'm gonna do whatever. We need somebody who can finesse all this shit and also have the amazing social media team and campaign team that Zoran has and had to win the Democratic primary, and why he will win the mayorship over fucking Cuomo, who is a name brand. He's up by about 20 points. It's insane. People should watch what he's doing, not the policies, but how he's doing it.
I fucks with that.
If you look at the link above, one of the things you'll see in the link above is, and you can decide whether you like the analysis or not, but according to Adam Bonnick, who's a researcher at Stanford, the relative position of the Democratic Party's policies actually isn't as important as people think. In fact, what he actually found was that leaning to the left actually boosted turnout in most of these elections and made them more successful. So it's worth considering that. I don't actually necessarily think the left-right thing matters as much as just having a candidate like Zoran who's willing to just stand up for what he believes in. I think you can be a centrist and do that, although most of the centrists haven't been doing a very good job of doing that in so long.
I think that.
But there is a way to win by just.
Yeah, this is good. Thanks for sharing.
I'm with Scotty. You need a jingle and a question. What if we had this? What if I could do this? It's like Roosevelt, These are the four freedoms. We tell you how he was gonna get it for you. You need a jingle, My Baloney has our first name, like that, Something people catchy, people remember it. They associate it with you.
Yeah, I'm just wild about Harry.
I like Ike.
I like Ike.
1 year one for Jay,
okay?
Wait a minute. What y'all telling some nursery rhymes I ain't never heard of. What's going on?
You 86 years old, I'm sure
I'm 87, get it right. Did somebody just call me stupid?
No, that was Bill Clinton's thing in '92.
That was Carville, I believe, who got that.
Yeah, so what happened to the tricky comebacks, to the slick talk backs? What happened to that? Oh, I don't know. I feel like
They gotta get better people. The people, some of those politicos, they're too invested in the formula, and you gotta get people who can,
But there's something to
the
consider.
formula.
So is it because they're more experienced, and I'm trying to stay away from the word, but outdated, perhaps old?
Kamala Harris had she had a part of her team that was really good at clapbacks and witty comebacks and stuff that really gets people energized. They just weren't given the latitude and the leeway. They didn't really let them do their thing until the convention, which was kind of late. I put it in the chat. If you all watched the convention, they were really good at trolling the Republicans. Does anybody remember the signage, the light spectaculars they put on the buildings across from Trump Tower?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, because he was one of them was I can't remember exactly what it was, but Trump was always obsessed with the size of the audience and the crowd. So they had this huge life size. It was like a projection onto a building that was right across from Trump's hotel that said something about the size matters or something like that. But it was witty what they said, but it was like a genius troll. They did that a couple of times. But they weren't allowed, it was they just gave them little pet projects to do instead of really letting them go and do what they could do.
Remember when they were taking pictures of the audience crowd of when Trump was at the audience and he couldn't even fill up the upper room, the upper seating, and then all of a sudden Kamala Harris, and it was literally standing room only? and they used to just post pictures who used to just piss him off to no end. I remember that part, John. That shit was hilarious.
I can't remember who it was. One of the speakers made a dick joke. I can't remember who it was.
Oh my God.
All right, can I also mention also what is happening in New York when you're seeing the campaign right in front of you? What Zoran is doing very effectively is he's doing the man on the street kind of stuff. Like, it's not these staid campaign commercials. He's out there on the street, he's talking with people, they have messages, they're literally walking and talking as they're doing it. They're doing the subway takes, if you all ever seen that Instagram account, where people are just being interviewed on the subway, like celebrities and whatnot. He's responding to everything that's being thrown at him in the media. He's also meeting with groups that historically would not want to vote for him, and he's putting it out there that he's meeting them. He's meeting with Jewish groups, he's meeting with at fucking Crane's business. You know, he's meeting with all of these other people that did not necessarily vote for him, although a lot of Jews did vote for him, but like groups, like going into synagogues, going into, other areas that are not inclined, and he's getting his message out there, and he's softening up people's take on him. And the benefit of what he's doing right now for the Democratic Party is that the election is this November. And what's going to happen is if he doesn't reveal all the nightmares that people are saying that are going to happen to New York don't happen by this time next year, then we're going to see a different take on what a more left-wing Democratic candidate in other races could do. It's not going to be as scary because people are going to see that somebody like Zoran is not the big boogeyman, and the people who adopt his, policies or his affordability sense is not something that's going to scare people.
All right, so this is a two-part question. This is real quick for you, Scotty. Has everyone from the Democratic Party endorsed Madani? I know the governor did.
The governor did. No, the cowards have. The cowards have not.
They haven't.
And they should. And they should. No, they should.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they should. And they're being fucking. And that's
Charlie Kirk before he endorsed Madani.
Exactly. And well, he voted for, or I'm not sure if he abstained, but he didn't vote no against the Charlie Kirk Remembrance Day. And this is the kind of shit that people fucking hate. Stand on your fucking values. So, he shouldn't be in that, I'm not even going to get into that. But Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are failing Democrats right now. And they're doing so by not endorsing Zoran in this. He is a Democratic Party candidate. In what world is that candidate not being endorsed by other Democrats who live in New York City?
But, so I have a question.
He is a Democrat.
I have a question though.
All right, I'll talk in my second one later. Go ahead. No, because I'm going to take us, if you want to stay on that, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. In terms of like Chuck Schumer and what his job is as the majority leader or the minority leader, I mean, are there not considerations that are there not things that he has to consider relative to his job, which is getting senators elected, right? And getting people elected? Is it not possible that some of those considerations are impacting his decision to get into or to endorse in the mayoral race?
Yeah, I'd say that's a legitimate thing. However, I think if he were to endorse, by the time all of that is going to matter in 2026, I think that'll be long gone, because it's eventually going to come out that he either voted for him or not. If he didn't, okay, fine. Right.
Yeah, I just think about the people that he's working to try to convince them to enter races, and the people he's trying to raise money to get them to support people. I don't know. I just wonder.
I mean, I think that's a fair political strategy question. I don't know if it's the same for Hakeem Jeffries, though. I just don't. I don't understand it.
I get it. Like,
Similar.
Wait a minute, hold up, because we are at the bottom of the hour. Thank you. I'm not sure exactly who that was, but I'm gonna come right back to you. As we approach the top of the hour, I just want to say hello to a couple people. Hey, no carbs. Hey, Ari Bull. Let me see. I asked those questions for a specific reason because, right? Kimberly had mentioned something very, very important in regards to when Kamala was running, right? And if we don't have the strategic people that's supposed to be the strategists behind, if they're going to sit there and sabotage their own candidate, like what hope does the Democrats have? Like seriously, why would you continuously? Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, what was also in the book, and Kimberly, feel free to correct me, but she was explaining how whenever she would seem like she was shining too much, the people that are supposed to help the candidacy move forward, they would say, oh, well, she felt as though they would say, okay, well, she's shining too much. We got to put the spotlight back on Biden, which then caused her to feel, I don't want to use the word insecure because that's not what she said, but to me, the way she's expressed it feels like she felt like she had to dial it back in order for him to continuously shine. So she's playing like this double role, like, okay, I'm playing vice president, but at the same time, I'm trying to be the president. Again, my overall question is, how are you supposed to win when people that's supposed to support you and supposed to boost you to go forward aren't really doing their job? Does that make sense?
I see what you're saying, but I think it's there might be some conflation because from what I've read, when she's speaking about the people that kind of tried to diminish her or keep her in a certain place, that was in her role as VP. That wasn't as much in the role of the presidential candidate.
Well, okay.
Like the two different timelines.
That is true, but there is some.
So I think sabotage might be a strong word.
Well, I don't know. I know we're all voting here.
I feel like sabotage is suited for how she may have felt it went when she was in the presidential race. But today that they might have been trying to diminish her or keep her in her place as a VP during the regular presidency.
Yeah.
Biden's president. I feel like sabotage isn't the right word because if they work for the president, of course they're not gonna want the VP to outshine the president. That's their job.
But that was also the problem because she was being VP but running for president at the same time.
No, so you're conflating the timelines. Yeah, that's what I was trying to make that delineation.
Okay. All right, let me hear from Kimberly.
Oh, okay. So the sabotage for me comes in when Joe Biden is I don't know if it's historically, but maybe historically you cut Trump out, an almost historically unpopular president, and Biden is making it really clear that he does not want her to move away from him. He apparently understands now because he's had that intervention with Pelosi and he has the real numbers that he is very unpopular, that he was on the way to losing, but still he keeps reinforcing to Harris that he calls her kid and all of this kind of stuff, like that they are a team and she does not need to move away. And then of course there's the story that's gone viral about him calling her right before the Trump debate and kind of almost rattling her a little bit.
Now, what is that story? Sorry, Kimberly? I fucked up.
No, I'm here. I'm sorry. My partner is talking to me. One moment.
Child, I thought my phone broke.
No, I'm trying not to prioritize Clubhouse.
It's okay. Go. Somebody else wanted to speak?
Well, just because she was asked about this at the GMA interview that Mel played earlier, and they were like, "We heard that he called you, or you wrote in your book that he called you before, and that upset you. Like, can you tell us more about that?" And she touched on it lightly, but she pivoted quickly because I think obviously she didn't want that to be like the headline. So she was like, "He was asking me to do something that was more, in his interest than mine." That's kind of all she said about it. So I'm very curious about this part of the story.
So she stated in the book that he called her and said, "My brother Ted, you're talking shit about me, and I know what you're saying, and if it's true." This is minutes before she was to step on stage to debate the orange, rapist that has, things with Jeffrey Epstein, the dementia-driven Tylenol weirdo, him. And so what we saw is an explanation of how the Biden team, she was careful to name Biden when she needed to specifically give examples of what Biden did, but also made clear to differentiate between him and his team, some of which were on her campaign. So the campaign / Biden team undermined her as VP, and it is not true politically or historically that a vice president is not to shine or never have moments. Vice presidents have been given multiple moments to shine. Biden was given moments to shine. Al Gore, we've had multiple presidents give their VPs those moments to shine because the role used to be that your VP is your successor, that the VP is going to run. That's how it's always pretty much been. It's just that's just how politics work. So for his team, she specifically wants to make sure we know it's the team, to not allow her wins with what she negotiated in Guatemala to mitigate some of the migration that was happening from Guatemala to the United States when she was, quote, sent down there, honestly, in my opinion, and a lot of folks' opinion, to do a suicide mission of figuring out what was going on with the border, why the migration, why the crossings were happening. That was a tough, unpopular thing that they wanted to send her to go do. The dirty work. But she went and did it as a public servant would. And when she was lambasted on Fox News for being called the border czar, the White House refused to push back. They refused to have a counter. They refused to respond. When she went and got the agreement with Guatemala and some of the other Latin American countries, they refused to let her go out and explain what she did to the world, to name it. No one knew it existed. Everyone just thought the border was a mess. The bipartisan border security bill was the thing they were working on. No one knew anything about what she was doing. But we all online were saying, "Where is Kamala for 4 years?" Everyone said, "What happened to her? She's gone. She disappeared. They're hiding her. Why is she in hiding?" She had a speech on Gaza that she gave that was incredible, that they hated in the book, that they hated. And they told her, "You gave the speech too good. Your speech is better than his." Well, guess what? His speech is insincere because he says, "I am a self-proclaimed Zionist." Of course he's getting fucked. So what are we talking about? She was better in the role in many areas than Biden, and that's not her fault. She should be able to pick up the slack. And the way you makes folks excited for a midterm is to say, "I know Biden is getting older, but we have this young black woman here who is extremely accomplished. Look at all the stuff she's done." That's how you actually help the party stay confident in a particular administration and not have a red wave. We're lucky we didn't have a red wave. We didn't know what the hell Kamala was doing. We only had the information that, okay, they got the bipartisan infrastructure bill passed. Okay, cool. They got the infrastructure bill and the Inflation Reduction Act. Cool. And that's pretty much all we knew. And she was right to say we should have focused more on meeting the needs of folks immediately with child care, with paid family leave, with expanding and making permanent child income tax credit. Like, there's all these things she talks about in this book that everyone does.
Oh, I have a...
And understand, I'm done. I'm going to be quiet after this. I just wanted to say there's a lot of pages. There's a lot of stuff she said that is true. She should have been given more of an opportunity to shine. We would have known way more about what she was doing. We would have had way more confidence in her when she decided to run, right? And we would have, I think, also not run at all and allowed her to be his successor. She was undermined. I don't understand how people don't understand this.
Oh, he
Well, we're under the topic of
was. Oh, I'm sorry. We can't. I have to keep talking. So back to So back to the story. I'm sorry, I had that thing. You have to water your relationships, nurture your relationships. Okay, so the big call that Harris did not want to talk about because she did not want these quotes, like her real quotes. Okay, so it's before the big debate with Trump, and of course she fucking killed it, like blew him out of the water. But immediately before that, Joe Biden calls her and says that his brother, that he's been talking to his brother, who is like a mover and shaker in Philadelphia, and his brother is reporting to him that Kamala has been going around talking shit. I mean, obviously that's not the words that she uses in there, but right. And that she was minimizing Biden in order to separate herself from him. And they have a conversation, and then he also, during that conversation, according to Harris, says he talks about his debate performances, his great debate performances, and she's like, I cannot fucking believe this. Like, this is the most important thing I'm ever gonna do, and we're talking about your debate performance? Like, what? And then, I'm so sorry, I'm still talking. And then, she talks to Doug. Doug Imhoff is there, and of course, like, he's pissed, and he, like, encourages her to let it go. But basically, she channels that frustration, that anger, and she freaking whooped the shit out of Donald Trump. But yeah, Joe Biden also he's a little shaky in this book.
Sure, you're right. But while we're in the discussion of vice presidents that shine, and Kamala Harris is certainly shine, but I think a decision making could come into question when you get a vice like a Minnesota governor. He hasn't said a syllable in years, and so you have to read yourself for the geezer, and her decision making and vice president, it took away from, in my opinion, her ability to do at least better, if not win. If she's bringing some energy to the table, she's articulate, she's a nice looking woman, a lady that appeals to a lot of people. But then if she picks a vice that's just a geezer, he's just another geezer, or another like a toupee guy, he's just another B-movie actor. So he's average and she's spectacular, and that counterbalances, and it causes her, I think, to actually lose the race.
That doesn't make any
In my opinion, just my opinion.
Yeah, politically speaking, when you look at, first of all, when you look at Tim Walz, he's a popular governor, that doesn't actually work. I mean, what they were trying to do in getting Tim Walz was to get white men and get moderates, because he's a white man who also used to be a Republican, switched parties and became a Democrat, and was a moderate Democrat, a centrist, and then got closer to the left in him being in office. And
with no known political record.
Just like his land.
Very strong network.
When it comes to Tim Walz, that was why he was selected. Shapiro wasn't selected because he's a Zionist, and Buttigieg was not selected because he's a and she is a black Asian woman. So it's like, of course, you're not going to put a diversity ticket all there. You were going to go after a white man. That's just like logical. Now, of course, there were possibly other options, but when you look at the Midwest is the way to win the presidency. That would be Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, which have voted with each other and in concert with each other since 1969. So if you can get someone who can appeal to the Midwest, hokey white men, that the theory is, okay, maybe you could win. The better choice would have been Shapiro because he can win UPN. However, he would have maybe lost you a lot of support in Michigan because of the fact that he's a Zionist and there's a large portion of Arabs now. So it's complicated politically. So she was smart to pick Walz. Unfortunately, Walz was a pussy and did not want to debate J.D. Vance. He wanted to compliment him. So you had that. The bottom line is that she should have had longer than 107 days to run. There should have been a primary. She probably would have won the primary, and Biden should have never ran for re-election. That is
potentially she could have picked maybe a blue collar Democrat that had a little shine, and there are several out there. I mean, it's just then it goes on to her decision making. So that's where you can from Truman Eisenhower to this hour. I will assure you that there were this gamut of choices that would have outshined the wooden tooth governor from.
Who was the better choice for VP?
She could have recalled Hakeem Jeffries on your board.
Why would you pick a New Yorker? Why would you pick coastal elite?
Well, I'll pick them all.
Matt, just let her get it out. Matt. No, don't go to this conversation is going and spinning, we're gonna bring it right on back. All right, Uncle, you gave your piece. Go ahead, land your plane.
We're right on top. Well, I'll put a link in the chat and I'll land my plane saying my.
Peace out.
Get back up here.
Peace out.
Matt, where you go? Come back.
I'm so sorry. Congressional Black Caucus, please be there. We'll be there Thursday and Friday, and they'll have some good stuff, even the hip hop part of it. But we're going to bring the Cherokee, and the question to Donald Trump is, well, why did you put the language? Why did you say English now? And the Cherokee has a lot to say about that. So we'll be at the Congressional Black Caucus with Ben Crump, Honorable Ben Crump, Dr.
And that's next week, right?
It's now, Thursday, Friday. The 2:00 p.m. You don't want to miss that. But you'll get your political issues over on the first day on Thursday. So all day Thursday here in Washington, D.C., you do not want to miss the CBC conference and convention. It's spectacular. All of you want to get your auto, your computer, your AI, ZI, A through Z. Tech Corporation will be there. Your opportunity for jobs, recruitment, just the whole 9 yards. Young to old, everybody bring themselves to Congressional Black Caucus this Thursday and Friday, basically all day long. And say, my.
Okay, just wanted to say this in response to what you said, because you don't pick, for one, if you have someone on the ticket that's from California at the top of the ticket, you do not pick a New Yorker. You need to appeal or try to appeal to the Rust Belt or the Sun Belt, or if you want just the Midwest in general. So you wouldn't be going, if you went after someone in VA, who are you getting? Tim Kaine to lose? I'm just saying, Tim Kaine, Mark Warner, they're not getting you anything. VA is no longer a state you're going to really try to get a nominee out of. I think Abigail Spanberger could be a great VP choice since you only can run for 1 term and you can't do 2 consecutive terms there for governor. So if she wins right now, yeah, she could be an interesting choice for VP, maybe, depending on how well she governs the state for these 4 years, right? But realistically, you also don't get someone from New York. Hakeem Jeffries is trying to speak with you, go pluck him from the House. He doesn't even appeal to New Yorkers. His national profile is, I'm trying to be speaker. And people don't like New York in the Midwest. People don't like New York in the Sun Belt. They think these folks are coastal elites. You get someone who feels like they're from where they're from and who makes it easier for you to win, as I stated, those 3 states. Right now, because of how the last census went, the easiest path for Democrats is the normie blue states that you win, and 3 swing states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and PA, which have always voted with each other for the last 50 years. So you get a Midwestern guy, right? Or girl, or whatever. But if you're comfortable at the top, let's take a black man woman, you're probably getting a white man to be your VP who can appeal to those folks. Now, you could have got Pritzker. I don't know if Pritzker would have really got you those 3, to be honest. He would have got you a lot of money. Maybe he would have a choice than Tim Walz, but arguably Shapiro would not have been because of where we were at with Gaza. He is a Zionist. He was proud of being a Zionist. He was trying to condemn protesters at their colleges. He was not the right option. If we had nothing going on with Gaza stuff, he would have been a perfect choice. He would have got you Pennsylvania. If it was a white man at the top of the ticket, Gretchen Whitmer would be a great option, right? But you can't have, unfortunately, this racist, fucking sexist country, 2 women on the ticket. If we were in New Zealand, I'd be like, yeah, hell, fuck yeah, because clearly they have sense in other countries. Our country does not. They want women as trad-wise, pregnant, barefooted in the house, praying and talking to God all day, and taking care of 9 children. That is what America unfortunately believes when it comes to that. So I'm not gonna dig deeper into that, but y'all know what country we're currently living in. Charlie Kirk's America. So yeah, you gotta think logically and actually understand politics. I'm not sure you mean, but it's fine to suggest stuff, but you gotta really study some of this stuff, because some of these suggestions are just absolutely absurd. And also, whoever put in the chat, Gavin Newsom and Kamala on a ticket, that's also illegal. You cannot have 2 people from the same state on the ticket as president and vice president. They have to be from the same state.
Yeah, I think it is affected with the voters' decision making. You see, there's a gamut of people. You got someone out of Texas, a Longhorn usually does pretty good. There's several of them there. My.
Matt, hold my hand, Matt. Just hold my hand, Matt. It's okay, Matt.
Yeah, Andy Bashir would have been a better option. All sides off, right, Andy? That's my personal choice for president for 28. He makes the most sense. He gets you the South. And then if you want to go and mix it up, get you maybe Gretchen Whitmer as VP to get the Midwest, or you could maybe even do Bruno Gallego for Latino Georgia, and also if Georgia gets a Democratic governor, because guess what happens if he is VP and they win? That if it's a Republican governor in Georgia, they replace him with a fucking Republican, and it makes it impossible for them to govern in the Senate. Because we'll more than likely have, as Democrats, a 50-50 Senate in 2028, based off, what a lot of folks are saying in terms of just like probability. So you don't want to pluck a Democrat at the Senate and throw them somewhere unless there's a Democratic governor in their state that can appoint a Democrat to sit in their seat. So that's what caught me. Look at California. That's how we had, I forgot her name. She was the one that Gavin Newsom appointed to fill out Kamala's seat before, obviously she didn't want to run for re-election, and we saw
LaFonza.
There we go. All right, LaFonza, yeah, who I also thought she did also run for governor. She didn't want to, so there's that. But yeah, so that's how it works. I get it, naming people that are cool, but we gotta be strategic here. We're not in the same country we all thought we were in 2024. We're clearly in a very strange world. Strange new world, strange old world, strange racist world. So that's all I want. Oh, Andy Bashir is boring as fuck. He needs charisma class. I'm just reading the chat, sorry. Yeah, he needs to figure out how to become more entertaining and engaging. But he makes the most sense in a D plus 35 state, Kentucky, won re-election twice, won AG. I mean, he's clearly someone who can win, and I think we're gonna have to bring back the South. The South's gonna have to come back to the White House, and not the South for Republicans, the South for Democrats.
The South is gonna have to rise again.
Yeah, girl, period. And I'm cool with mixing that up. I mean, you could just do a full Southern ticket. I mean, it's still kind of a risk if it's Andy and John Ossoff, but that would be fine for me. Or Andy, Gretchen Whitmer, or Andy and Ruth Mesa, or Andy and Westmore.
Like Clinton Gore, Arkansas, Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. Return to the South. So I'm just saying, like when you look at numbers, those are things that make sense. Like Westmore helps you get the black vote, and Andy would get you the rest of what you need, right? If it's Andy at the top and Whitmer, she helps you not just get Democrats who are going to be excited you have another woman as VP, but she helps you get the Midwest. Because guess what I said? Those three states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, always go together. She was currently is governor of Michigan, a popular governor, leaving office, and guess what? She would help you get those three. So you just it's not hard to do some of this stuff, but a lot of people don't want to. Kelly, over in Arizona, he'd be awesome. He would really help you get the Sun Belt. I mean, Kelly could probably appeal to freaking North Carolina. People really love him and Gavin Gifford. So I'm just saying, we gotta be strategic. But back to what we were originally discussing, his team, Biden's team, undermined Kamala as VP, and in my opinion, sat with her and really had her in a chokehold and muzzled during this election. She was trying to be loyal. She was trying not to undermine him. She was trying to be a kind person, and unfortunately, she did not have enough of an identity or brand that fucking administration would allow her to have carved for herself, because it would, quote, make Biden look weak. You're an 80-something-year-old man. Get over it.
Yeah, I think part of what also happened with her was I actually thought she ran quite a good race in the beginning, and then just the wrong consultant, wrong strategist got in there and was like, yeah, you should definitely spend 6 days.
Pivot to the Cheney.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And I think Tim Walz, frankly, in his ridiculous debate performance is part of that too. They told him to sit down and stop doing the thing that actually made him popular during the cycle, which was the whole weird thing, talking shit about Republicans, while also pivoting towards more of a, let's stop being weird and actually be together, which I thought was a message that was working. And then it was like, oh no, this is working too well, let's undermine it. It's never made any sense whatsoever to do that. Like, you've got momentum, you're actually building something, and then you're just going to undermine it. And I honestly think, and Kimberly was saying this before too, I think the Mike Donalds of the world, the Anita Dunn's, all of them just were stuck in 1996. Yeah. Or some year that's long gone in a politics that no longer exists, and it just absolutely sabotaged them. Because she got close anyway. This was it's not a massive win.
Your Honor, it's kind of like you said with that, with what you posted up there about like how when they move further to the left, they do a little bit better. Because I honestly think the reason behind that is if you move more to the center, for those people that are on the fringe about voting, it makes both sides really look more equal than what they are, and that will, depress the turnout. And I think that hurt.
I think if Gaza had not been such an issue, then she would not have done the Unite America tour with Liz Cheney. I just think that, and I don't think that there's reason to believe that, they just gave up on the idea that the young people that they'd be able to bring the young people in because of the Gaza thing.
You know what's wild?
The young people and the suburban people, because they have to do the Michigan people too.
Do y'all? It was wild. Y'all think that? Let me say one more thing about the Michigan thing.
So how do you?
Oh, good. You want to go now?
Just
okay.
okay.
Okay, then I'll go. No, I was talking about the guy. Okay, you go ahead. I'll go after you.
Okay, I just want to ask Kimberly real quick. So how do you explain all of the emphasis she put on the women's control of their body thing? If that wasn't like for young people, like what was that about? Because I thought that was overly done.
For women, okay, so reproductive rights, abortion was such a winning issue in 2022.
Yeah.
The Democrats way overperformed in the 2022 midterms because of dogs. And so it polls well, and Harris was good at talking about it. That's the other thing that she, says. Like, Biden was squeamish, right? Old school Catholic. And so whenever she was able to get out and talk about the importance of this issue, she could come alive. And so she thought that would be the thing. And abortion is still a winning issue. I mean, like abortion is almost the most popular that it's ever been, like in American history. But people would vote for abortion and then vote for Trump.
Yeah, I just think it seemed asynchronous or something, out of sync with what she had going on. The heavy emphasis on it, I couldn't tell whether.
That was when she seemed the least wooden, and I think that her people.
Not her people were performance of it, but just the mere amplifying of it. Because at the end, it sort of took over. It was all she talked about.
Oh yeah, there's just a desperation. We're just trying to do what we can to get across the finish line toward the end.
And it kind of all messed up at the end. Hold on, before we lose the thing about Michigan, I just want to briefly say this. I saw some basically some political operatives from the Muslim American community speak the other day, and I was actually really fascinated at how much Muslim Americans actually voted for her. It's way more than I thought. Like there was I forget the exact number. I think they worked it out where if every single Muslim who voted, uncommitted in the primary had voted not for Harris, just like for anyone else, either leaving a blank, voting for the opposition, voting Jill Stein or whatever, it still would have been something like 65-35 in that community. Really, really fascinating. I wish I had a link or something to it, but it was just
that sounds low to me.
That really surprised me.
They all
low.
Maybe I just don't know enough about this, but 65-35 still seems kind of.
Yeah, I think if you look historically, it probably is a little bit low, but I think relative to the popular opinion of what happened with particularly Muslims in Michigan, like people made it sound like Trump had won them or something like that, or that there was some like mass move regarding Gaza that led to her losing Michigan. And if that happened, it didn't happen in the Muslim community, and that's what I thought was interesting about it. I'm not saying there was no movement, but it wasn't like people have been talking about.
Oh, what was the move? What was the move from Biden 2020 to Harris 2024?
Biden overwhelmingly won here in 2020.
were white men and women.
And young white men.
The virtue signaling of the white lefties suppressed the vote for many people on the left and suppressed the turnout. So although the Muslim community may have come around and voted for Kamala, there were certainly white lefties who didn't get the memo that they should have decided to vote for Kamala in spite of Biden's stance on Israel and alliance with the Zionists. And those white lefties, I'm going to continue to hold smoke for them because they were fucking an embarrassment in the last election. Thank you.
I wanted to go back to something that Kimberly and Dr. Agee were naming regarding abortion, and Kimberly definitely touched on it, but I wanted to just expand regarding the split ticketers. I mean, you had abortion on the ballot for Missouri, Florida, like 4 states or something, and all those white women did is say, okay, cool, yeah, I want my abortion, but I don't want Kamala. The Democrats have to stop thinking that split ticketers don't exist, because they will split ticketing more than they split ticketed before this last election.
To be fair,
They should have not put it on the ballot. I mean, just saying, like, these activist groups should have not done that. They should have said, we're going to let the election be what can help you all determine or protect or not protect those rights. Because if they're doing it, I'm saying strategically, because all they're going to do is say, I want my ballot initiative to be what I want it to be, and I don't want her, because I don't want her other color. Especially if you're seeing color. I mean, that's what they get. They have a whole article about that, and they bumped up.
Well, what about like Arizona, right? So in Arizona, we get, yes, abortion. In San Diego, no parents. You know?
That comes down, unfortunately, that's Carrie Lake, an unpopular loser who lost already and came back to lost again. I contribute that to the able to all around the state. He talks about like small program towns in Arizona that no one ever goes to there. I mean, I watched his like interview he gave after he won, and they were like, how did you win? Like, they wanted to come in all the way to unattack the president and act like how to jump in and stay in. I should say a lot of folks came out because of those candidates, yes, but also was very big on the ticket. She did help with turnout, so I won't say she did not. However, I think we got to win over some of those folks because he actually made it work in the state. She barely went to Arizona. She barely went to Nevada.
That's a good point.
She barely was there. She was up and down, going to North Carolina, going to Georgia, getting things like 12 times or something. Like, she was focused on the blue wall. She was not focused on the Sun Belt. So there again, things are looking and that's the problem. I mean, she didn't have enough time, and I'm not gonna, like, she was in my body idiot. She should have been what he said was going to be for judge and once her president. He should have been setting her up after those fake red waves that didn't happen in 22. And by March, she should have been pre-campaign. We know Kamala pre-campaign. We know that she was dragging Brett Kavanaugh. She was already in campaign mode in 2019. 2018, 2019. We already know what Kamala was doing. Everyone knows how she run the president.
cliche in America. That cliche is they buy into just the idea of gimmicks and cliches. If nothing new because say for instance, that's like a cliche or gimmick. Trump shows up flipping burgers at McDonald's. Now, by coming there, I saw he had some commitment from the Teamsters, and you have to carry the Teamsters to carry certain folks. She could have just showed up, parked in the truck, driving a McDonald's truck. That would have gotten her,
not sure exactly what is true or not, but I have a lot of skepticism that the politics are going to function in the same way in the next election. I feel like there's just something for me that rings hollow about why it's kind of the whole goals this next election. And I hope I'm wrong, but I just think that there's going to be a level of intimidation from the federal government that's going to be on a scale that we haven't seen. I don't even know ever when it comes to the federal government. Like the last time the federal government was involved in an election, it's like maybe you have to go to like Reconstruction or something to like come up with a time period where the federal government will be deployed. Like I think it will be in terms. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope that we get like a free and fair election. I just right now just.
Well, also we have to remember that the vice president signs off on the election results.
This is not on the same page, I mean, isn't it?
Not going to come back to the Democratic Party. What are they doing for those people?
My contention is, I mean, there are people that would say that they're not doing anything, but that's.
No, I'm not saying about people. I'm talking about you and Amari.
I'm answering
You
the
and
question.
Amari.
I'm answering the question. If you want to shout over me while I'm answering the question.
Babe, I'm not shouting. I'm not shouting.
Well, I'm just trying to.
Just think of a Latina and say I'm spicy. Okay, go ahead.
No, I don't create those strokes. But again, I mean, I don't think they realize the thing. I don't really think that they have to truly do anything.
See, you don't answer
the same way. Can I? Am I?
Boy, you don't know because you ain't answer the question.
But you don't want to answer. You want to listen.
To say that they don't do anything, that's not he answered the question. He said they're doing
but you
nothing.
can't have a bunch of people yelling over me while I'm talking.
Go ahead, Mike. You just answered the question. They didn't hear you. You said that they're doing nothing.
No, can I land my plane without the interruptions?
Go ahead.
All right.
10 seconds.
The same way. There you go.
Female. Go ahead.
The same way that Donald Trump made a whole bunch of promises. Again, it's bigger than just whatever he says, and he's just talking. It's an ideology that they believe in. And it has a lot to do with the fact that they're playing against the heartstrings against these people because of the fact that they have a distrust against the Democrats. If the Democrats were to come up and they get it right, a lot of those people that he flipped, to Amari's point, where they're not all MAGA supporters, they would get them all the way back. But what keeps them coming and what keeps them under the gaze that, hey, I'm going to be able to do all these different things is the fact that they have such a distrust for the Democratic Party that anything that Trump dangles out there, they're just going to be able to buy.
Hey, you need to go ahead and land though. You don't talk. Okay, but we've been quiet. And now I'm going to talk. Lisa, the problem is, so here's the thing, Lisa. The reason why this shit is so stale with this nigga here.
With this nigga here?
This nigga, boy, shut up before I throw you in the coop. Say something else. Come off again. Come on off. I'll throw your black ass in the coop.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, here's why this is so tired. Democrats, including you, Lisa,